Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the Imperfect Action Show. We are live on YouTube. Another amazing episode where we talk to 6, 7, 8 figure entrepreneurs who have taken consistent imperfect action to find success in their business. And today's guest is no one short of that. We got Ryan Killebrew of Killebrew Consulting, who's helping you with budgeting, financial coaching, money strategy, which is something I definitely needed. Like, I would say like 2 decades ago, when I first started my journey in business. So I'm happy to have you on the show, Ryan, and hopefully you can share a lot of your gems that's going to spark an idea or help someone who's tuning in live or watching the replay. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a quick text out to the community, let them know that we're live. What I would like you to do while I'm doing that is share a little bit of your background and how'd you find yourself doing the business that you're doing and helping people, how you're helping them.
Definitely. So my name is Ryan Killebrew. I am the owner and principal coach and consultant for Killebrew Consulting, which is a financial services firm based here in the Philly metro area. And I have been in the financial services industry for roughly 13 years now. Really started in banking and being in the inner city. You're constantly coming in contact with individuals who are definitely first gen wealth builders or just constantly living paycheck to paycheck. And I realized when servicing them, a lot of people just didn't have the basic financial literacy or financial understanding around, something as simple as budgeting, operating their account, constantly overspending. So I wanted to start servicing clients that, I could make an impact earlier, or if someone who was struggling already, I can make an impact and help them shift their thinking around their finances and begin that journey towards financial freedom. And so that's really where I started. I had spent some time in the investment side of banking, and the firm that I was at, you could only actually really sit down and schedule a meeting with me if you had at least $250,000 worth of investable assets.
And we
And
all
that's
we
not
all should have $250,000 of investable
exactly
assets.
100%. But there's so many people there that just weren't at that place to even be able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And then they tried to work it out where it was like, well, if they at least have 100,000, but then I was still again in inner city Philadelphia, that's not too many people. So I was, just in that realm of how can I be a resource to help someone get to that place to where they no longer have a negative net worth, but a positive net worth. And then they're able to go on that investment journey and really build the wealth as opposed to, just trying to get by, and maybe have that insurance or one of the biggest things that I am happy that I'm starting to see less of. But when life happens, all I saw was GoFundMe. And I'm
Yeah.
like, all
Yeah.
right, we got to move from GoFundMe. So from that
So
point,
can,
yeah.
can I can I can I take a quick little pause real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So that's because you said GoFundMe. So a
Yeah.
friend of mine who has a legitimate business, a
Mm-hmm.
mobile detail service,
Yeah.
he does a really amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
His car, well, his van was stolen with all the equipment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That is a perfect situation for GoFundMe, especially when you build your clientele. They want to see you continually be successful. That's a that's a
Yeah.
perfect opportunity to you crowd fund and say, hey, listen, guys, this unfortunate situation happened. I want to continue to provide value and quality to you. Would you mind contributing to the GoFundMe? Or if you have a startup. But GoFundMe is not a solution when when you lose a house or
Yeah.
someone passes, funeral expenses to take care of family members. That's
Yeah.
not the time to get to a GoFundMe. And if you do successfully get that GoFundMe, no one's giving you money again. You know
Exactly.
so I just wanted to kind of interject on that really quick.
Definitely. And you completely hit the nail on the head. GoFundMe is a tool, but it should not be the only tool, your only go-to. And so was seeing that happen all too often. And so, I left um, the investment firm that I was at back in 2018 because I had already been helping people, but I officially launched my business in August of 2018, and have been doing that ever since. Started off with just the individual side, um, and continued to build that out while I focused a little bit more on the business, in regards to business services. And at this point now, I'm being able to offer both financial services for businesses and individuals who are, like I said, that trying to build the wealth, and just get a solid foundation to where they're able to, continue on and succeed.
Well, first of all, I just got to say, I really admire and I love the work that you're doing. It's so very necessary, especially for starter entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
because I was once a starter entrepreneur and I was just so excited and elated about what I was doing and helping people that you don't do your LLC, you don't do your EIN, you don't do your business registration, you don't do your business formation. You're co-mingling funds. You're not doing your taxes.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You're not allocating all of your expenses. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
these are the things that you're talking about that you can help with your firm and in the things that you do that can set someone up for success, but then also put them in a position that they don't have to then go backtrack a year later, 2 years later, and then
Exactly.
to then fix some things that are out of whack because now they want to get access to funding, but they can't get access to funding because things are not right. So what
100%.
I want to say really quick is if you guys are watching this live, this is the Imperfect Action Show. We on with Ryan Killebrew. And if you guys have any questions about payroll, financial services, um, business structure, business formation, money strategy, or anything like that on the personal side or business side, drop your questions below. And let while we have Ryan here, she'll answer your questions in real time. We definitely want to make sure that we touch, impact, and help somebody um, while we are live. And obviously, if you're watching the playback, that's good too. All right, but if you have some burning questions, I know you have some burning questions. I know some people yesterday spent time watching Rihanna, watching the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Could have been time getting your things in order. And you're like, man, I could have got that. And now it's this great opportunity for you to ask Ryan the questions. So I'll definitely make sure that you drop them in the chat below. So I have a question for you about just how well two things
Mhm.
personally. So one's gonna be like, how can an entrepreneur who's just starting out, well, maybe it's not how. The question should really be, what do they need? So when you're just starting out, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking about how I can at least organize my stuff before I get with a
Mhm.
bookkeeper. What are some ways I need to kind of get my things in order? Like what do I need to just account for?
So the biggest thing is first filing your business documents. So depending on the business structure, right? The most simple, if it's just you, you're a solopreneur, as we like to call them, you're not having any other employees, it's just you. The very first thing that I would do is to create and separate my business and my personal. So the very first thing I would do is register myself as an LLC. You don't have to be perfect, right? A lot of times, some clients that don't have a true business name yet, they just have that idea. I tell them to create the LLC using their name, but it creates that separation, not only legally, but financially. So then that way, that corporate veil is now put up. If someone was to sue you and you don't have that veil, they are getting both the business and you personally. So that is the very first thing I tell people. Please, please, please create that separation. And most states, their LLC documentation is very simple. Like I know here in PA and then also in Jersey, you can 100% just do it online. It costs about $125 to do it. And then once you do come up with that business name, I tell people it takes $50, $75 to go ahead and file a DBA documentation. So you can still use your business, that same business account, and now you're just able to use whatever name you finally landed on as doing business as. So I 100% would say start with that. And then, of course, so that takes care of the state, but you also want to make sure that you have set up your designation. So you mentioned your tax designation. Set up your designation with our friend, the IRS. That's one person you don't want to have on your back. So I always tell people, if you're just setting up a simple LLC, you're a single member, you're considered a disregarded entity unless you do special filing. But a lot of times, if you're just starting out, hey, it is going to help you with your tax strategy, if you do have that included. And it's within like the first few years. So it still creates separation, but just for your tax filing, you're able to pass through those losses or profits onto your personal tax filing. So I 100% would say start with that. And then, the next couple of basics, like setting up your business account so that you are not commingling funds. You do have a separation between personal funds and business funds. And then, the very next thing outside of doing those things, sit down and create some type of plan. How are you going to think about generating income? What are you thinking about when it comes to the actual services that you're going to provide? Understand that businesses are going to change. Wherever a business is today was not going to be where the business is 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. So understand that outline is just an outline. You're going to be able to build that foundation from there, but you need to have some type of idea on paper, so then that way where to go from there. So I would 100% say those few steps are, for any beginner, you need those few steps.
So those are really solid, right? So we got a question that we're going to tackle in 1 second. This one's coming from Jeter. But I want to make sure that everyone has the steps that Ryan just shared. So I'm going to do a quick little recap. So number one, you want to file your business docs, right? You want to make sure that you're separating your business from your personal. Set up your tax designation. Also, you want to set up a business account, right? And then number four, set up an income plan. Sit down and really map that out. And also what services you're going to provide. And obviously your price points. You want to have some good prices, right?
Yes.
So the question we have for Jeter is, when is bankruptcy a good thing or option to utilize?
So I would say 100% understanding where you are financially is going to be the key to the answer for this question, right? So a lot of people, especially in the Black community, it's like, oh, bankruptcy is such this faux pas, but it is a tool. It can be a actual positive to allow you to hit that restart button. So often we're finding people that are paycheck to paycheck. You're continuing this debt cycle, so you're not really able to break it. And at some point, life happens, right? And you're just not able to recover. That is where bankruptcy should 100% enter into the equation. So if you're just not able to cover basic living expenses because of your debt, 100% you need to reset. But I think it's also a mindset. So often people look at bankruptcy and say, oh, I get to hit this reset button, but then they find themselves in that situation again. So you should 100% not be reoccurring this cycle. It should be a situation where this is my last lifeline. I 100% need to reset and I want to do better. So anyone who is going to file bankruptcy, part of the requirement for bankruptcy filing is that you have to do some type of financial literacy education because they don't want you to repeat that cycle.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, I just need this reset, but then I'm getting ready to ball out once I get my credit back to where I need it to be, no, because you haven't changed your mindset. So I would say 100% look at where you are. If this is like again, the only option, I can't take care of my basic needs and I need to get out from under this weight, I always enter in the conversation of bankruptcy. Some people are able to file Chapter 13, which just says it's not completely erased, but the creditors are no longer coming after you. And the courts have set up some type of arrangement with the trustee where you just pay the courts and then the trustee divvies out the funds for you. But again, now you don't have the creditors on your back, mentally being stressed, emotionally being stressed out, on top of your financial and physical stressors. So I would say that, or you have the Chapter 7 where it's a complete total wipeout. And from there, you're just starting over. Of course, there is a rebuilding that goes along with that with your credit, but truly a situation where you're trying to build. But again, that mindset, if somebody's not there, I don't recommend it.
So that kind of leads me to something else I want to ask, but
Mm-hmm.
we got Erin Johnson who has a question, so we're going to answer her question first, right? So she asks, what are the biggest trending issues that small businesses face, and can you give us some advice?
100%. So first thing is the commingling of funds. I feel that a lot of small businesses, because they're just trying to make something happen, they haven't taken the time first to, like you said, get set up. Let me breathe before I start. So I need to have some type of plan in place. I need to have my documentation in place. And then when you do need to infuse funds, because we get it, you're a startup. So whether you're getting a loan to start the business, whether you're personally investing in your business, or you're getting angel investors or whoever else to bring that money into your business, a lot of times small businesses aren't aware of additional resources. So they're constantly putting their own money in. And I would say I found that a lot of small business individuals or entrepreneurs that I've worked with don't have a personal budget in regards to how much they're going to infuse in their business. So then it's putting stresses on their personal finances on top of just trying to keep the business afloat. So I always say, not only do you need to have a plan for the business, but also a plan for your personal. So then that way you're not stressed out. Like you still have some type of income and understand that, again, organically, the business is going to grow. But if you're not constantly checking in on that, then you aren't able to see the growth. So again, that's where that constant infusion of cash, and you're not able to actually pull anything from the business because the business isn't making any money at that point. Another thing that I felt like was exacerbated through the pandemic was having some type of financial record keeping in place. I can't tell you how many people reached out because they needed to have a simple P&L so that they can file to get the PPP loan or to get, whatever pandemic funds they were able to receive, because they needed a profit and loss statement. They needed some type of cash flow or balance sheet, and they just did not have it. And I'm like, but you were in business for the last 3 years. Like, what's going on? And it's like, oh, well, I didn't have these things in place. So I would say once you get certain things set up, you don't have to work with a true financial professional, whether it be an accountant or be a bookkeeper. There are so many platforms that you can utilize, whether it's Zero or QuickBooks or FreshBooks, whatever platform you want to use. Even if you're good with technology and you're fine with Excel or Google Sheets, you utilize that. You need to have some type of financial record keeping in place, not only so then that way you can get the funding that you need, but also too, the IRS, if you get audited, they want some type of proof. And if you don't have your records in place, it's going to mess up your audit. So I found, like I said, throughout the pandemic, so many people were just struggling with trying to get their finances in order with the record keeping. So they were missing out on funding opportunities because they didn't have things in place prior to those deadlines. So I would say that would probably be the top two. Those two would probably be the top two, where the commingling of funds and not having a budget in place, so you're not utilizing all of your own finances. And then, like I said, having some type of documentation, record keeping in place so that you're ready when the opportunity presents itself to get the funds to help infuse into your business.
Facts. You gotta stay ready so you don't have to get ready. You know what
Yes,
I'm saying?
yes.
We got a couple other questions, right? We want to touch on Whitney's question. We want to touch on Brady's question. But before we get into those questions, I want to
Mhm.
remind you guys to subscribe to the channel. This is an Imperfect Action Show. We are on live with Ryan Killebrew, and she's helping you with all your questions around business structure, registration, accounting, budgeting, all the things that you need, the essential things that most entrepreneurs, including myself when I started, we weren't doing, y'all. So let's get to it. Let's get these questions out, right? So, one more thing I want to touch on, then I want to go to the questions is because you
Mhm.
continue to bring it up and it's on my mind, and I want to make sure that we touch on it. Is the mindset, right? So,
Yes.
so, so, uh, the mindset, the money mindset, and the actual switch, right? So,
Mhm.
because if you don't, okay, this is the thing. Like, I got my phone right here. I got my iPad over there. If
Mhm.
Apple comes out with an iOS update, all we got to do is download it and then bang, it's there.
Yep.
When it comes to us as individuals, if we're not reprogramming the way that we're thinking or the way that we're looking at something, we're going to continue to keep the same habits, thus giving us the same results. So, how does someone that may come from a background where, you know, we're not thinking about finances, money, and abundance, right? We don't have someone like you up until this point as someone that we can
Mhm.
potentially work with. How do I start to rewire my own brain around approaching my business differently and just thinking about money differently so I can bring in more money? Sometimes we're not bringing in more money because we don't even think that we can bring in more money. So how do we
Yeah.
start to change the mindset?
So, couple things. One of the things that or one area that I feel a lot of people miss the mark in is the self-reflection, right? We're not doing enough check-ins with ourselves to say, hey, there's an opportunity here. An area of opportunity that I'm missing. And then actually doing the research to figure out how do I get stronger in this area, correct this area. A lot of people aren't doing that. So I would say that's number one. Be real with yourself. If you know that you're living paycheck to paycheck and you want to break that cycle, understand that, hey, I'm not doing well. Self-reflection. I'm not doing well in this area. And I know this is an area of opportunity for me. So now I'm going to actually take the steps to do it. The next thing I would say is outside of just research, it's how you're researching. There are so many free tools that people just don't realize, i.e., social media. I think social media right now for the exposure that it's giving for people, because, so often you hear representation matters. If I see someone else do something, then hey, I'm able to do it as well. So I would 100% say utilize social media, utilize podcasts such as the Imperfect Action Show. There are so many people that are already doing these things, and it's a free resource. Outside of that, I am a reader. One of my favorite books when it comes to finances is called The Psychology of Money. And it breaks down just how a lot of people think that, when it comes to be financially savvy, you have to be this type of person, and it's not. Everyone has their own background, different experiences that they're bringing to how they're actually managing their funds. And so it's, hey, recognizing like I have little people. I have three daughters, and I'm that mom that will go to the store and buy for them before I buy for me. And that's okay. Understand that that is who I am. And so when I'm sitting down to plan out my budget, I understand that like birthdays are coming up. I value experiences for my girls, especially experiences that, maybe I didn't have growing up. So, I plan those into my budget as well. So a lot of times it's, again, that understanding who you are, because once you understand who you are, you're able to make the tweaks that you need to, but then also too, just better maneuver. You don't have to be the 100% financially savvy person that's set with investing and they're good with saving. I have people who don't save well. Okay, so you're somebody who needs to utilize automation because you're not going to do it yourself. But again, it's just understanding that. So I would say, as far as mindset goes, it's evaluating where you are, evaluating the business and where the business is, and then taking the time to invest in research and, utilize all the free tools and then go from there. After that, it would be reaching out to professionals, but you have to take the first step. So I would say those
So I
100%.
just want to add on to what to what Ryan was saying. So I think number one is just to add on to, like I said, what she was saying is you need to define if you actually want to get better, if you actually want to improve. That's number one. It sounds good in theory, but if you're not really going to, okay, I just got paid today, I'm gonna put some money over here, some money over here. It sounds good in theory, but if you're not going to put it in practice, then it doesn't matter. So you have to determine that, okay, I do want to change some habits. I do want to get better at X, Y, Z. And I think the other thing that she mentioned too about the mindset, yes, pick up that book, Psychology of Money, or get in different groups where people are different things that may be unfamiliar and uncomfortable, and make a commitment to show up in those areas so it can force you out of the habits that you want to get out of that aren't serving you anyway, right? So for instance, if you're someone that actually needs to stay in the house and work on their business, but for some reason you find yourself always going outside the house, but you know that you need to be in the house working on your business, then you really need to be in the house working on your business. And when you notice, like, oh, I'm about to set this appointment out and go do what I'm going to do, these are the times where you have to be in a moment and actually hold yourself accountable and responsible to do the thing that you want to do so you get a different result. And those are the moments that are like, yeah, I can make, this is the time that I said I want to make this decision.
Yeah.
I can actually make it right now, or I can go back to doing what I was already doing, and you're going to keep getting what you're getting. So we got a couple questions popping in. Whitney's is first. What are some of those resources for small business finding funding?
So the very first thing that I would tell any small business owner to do is reach out to your local CDC. So often there are a lot of funding resources, as well as like other businesses that are part of their mission is to like sponsor other small businesses or to give locally. So the CDC is 100% a huge resource for businesses.
What is the CDC? What is
So
that?
it's a community development corporation. So it's pretty much, especially within the inner city, you're able to find them. I know Philly has like local offices. So they are a business resource. It's strict, like they help you with everything from tax support, so helping you register your business, helping you with that tax designation, and they are a nonprofit organization because they're set up within the community, so you don't even have to pay for these things a lot of times, but they have also typically a list of resources, also too, depending on your business designation. So a lot of people, you may often see a business set up and they'll have the designation recognizing them as a women-owned business, certified women-owned business, or certified Black-owned business, certified POC. Depending on the actual business, they're also able to help you get those designations. And that's where you're able to get a lot of those sponsorships from the larger corporations. So whether it be like Coca-Cola or, Pepsi, or like I know Comcast is a big, business here in Philadelphia, and they're constantly giving. And if you're designated as a woman-owned business, they're like, oh, here's some money. So a lot of times, if you reach out, they'll help you. They'll also help you with finding business funding as well. So if you're looking to get like business credit, and they're typically able to match you with lenders that provide specifically loans for startups, things like that. And they'll help you make sure that you have things in place to be able to file and get those business loans, or like I said, any additional funding. So I would say 100% start there. After that, again, it's research. So often, like even on my though I'm not on social media as often.
Not yet.
Not yet, but I will be. 100% I will be. One of the things that I do was I follow specific hashtags. So I'll follow a hashtag that says like business funding. I'll follow hashtags that say business grants. And so all I'm seeing on my feed is information around like American Express just did another round of their small business grants. And then also too, depending on who you bank with, every bank, and I'll tell you now, because I've been in banking for a good while, every bank has some type of requirement where they have to actually invest in the communities that they serve. It is a requirement of every bank. Reach out to whoever you bank with, reach out to them and say, hey, what programs do you have in place for small businesses of color, businesses within certain area codes. I'm in Philly, so they do look at like, oh, you're in this area code, so that is, maybe considered an impoverished area or an up and coming area. So they're more willing to give to you, and they typically will lax some of their lending requirements as far as credit and things like that, because you're in these areas and you're reaching out to them for help. So I would say those are my top. I 100% will look at whatever business resource center you have in your area. Go to them first. Then, research as well. Utilize the tools that you have, social media, other outlets. And then lastly would be going directly to whoever you bank with, because they have your business. You could get theirs too. So
100%. So I dropped some of those key strategies in the chat for you guys to grab up and scoop up. Hope you are taking notes in real time or taking notes on the playback. This question is coming from Brandy. I'm also a solo entrepreneur who started business 3 years ago, but 8 months in officially as an LLC. At what point do I add myself to payroll? I'm not really on payroll. I'm just doing business.
So with this, it's really determined by your income and then your tax strategy. So it's two things that I would say to look at. Anyone who's making, if this is all you're doing, right? You don't have any other source of income. All you're operating is your business. There's no other form of income coming in. If you're making less than 80 to like 100, 120K, I would say you don't necessarily need to put yourself on payroll and designate yourself as an S Corp. That comes with additional like taxes, and that's where you really need to build out your tax strategy. So I would say look at where your income is right now, and your income, I'm talking about your net profit, not like, oh, this is where my revenue is. I'm over, 100K, so I should do it. No, because if your operating expenses are high, don't do it. But if you're operating at a net positive and you're over that 80 to like 120, again, I don't know everyone's tax situation, so it really depends also on your own personal income tax. But it can be more advantageous for you to, at that time, to switch over and put yourself on payroll, as opposed to someone who is under that because of, at that time you're able to get like additional tax benefits. So again, this is where working with a tax accountant or any other financial professional that is going to do tax planning, not like just preparation, but actual tax planning will come into play, because they'll be able to actually look at your business finances and say, this is how you should transition and set it up. Also, I would look at what other um, ways you're paying yourself outside of just payroll. A lot of people only do payroll or withdrawals, but you can look at paying yourself through your investments as well. So setting up that IRA or setting up that solo 401k. As a solopreneur, you're actually able to contribute to those, and depending on which account you set up, you're able to pay yourself as an employer and the employee. Also with self-employed IRAs, or what we call SEP IRAs, that's another option as well. So again, I would say at this point, if you're operating at a positive, definitely connect with a tax strategist, that tax planner, to really come up with a strategy specific for you. And they'll be able to look and say like, you should wait a little bit, or no, hop on this now. It's early enough in 2023 where you can make a transition now because of how your business is growing. And they'll be able to make that determination.
So why don't we have really quick, Brandy, if you need any other additional assistance, make sure you reach out to Ryan. Her Instagram is right there at Killer Brew Consulting. That's on Instagram at Killer Brew Consulting, and she can kind of get a little bit deeper in the weeds with you and your situation. And that goes for anyone that's listening and watching right now. Our last question is coming from Kimberly. Hi, Ryan. What recommendations do you have to determine whether to open a business account with a bank or credit union?
So this is personal preference, I would say. But 100% look at the benefits. And then also, when I say benefits, I'm not just talking about the features of the account. There are a lot of larger banks that specialize in small businesses. So like one being PNC Bank, another being Citizens Bank. And no, I don't get any money from them. But we'll talk about that later. But they specialize specifically in catering to small businesses. So they offer a little bit different accounts than like your traditional Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, who have small business accounts, but typically like you have to keep minimums, things like that. So I would say look at the features of the account. Also, credit unions understand that you're a member, so they're again offering you additional benefits to bank with them. I would say if you're looking to eventually need lending opportunities, right, your credit unions are typically offering you better interest rates. So maybe you don't have like your operating account and things like that there, but you may have like a small tax account that you just pay taxes out of. But that account is there. And so then that way you have some type of
Yeah.
relationship with that bank. So then when you do go for lending opportunities, you're able to utilize it. One of the biggest things that I always tell people is convenience. If a bank does not have a great platform for online banking and other, like how easy does it make for you to do your business?
Yeah,
Right.
facts.
So if it's not going to make it easy for you to operate, then you don't need to be with that bank.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want to you. So I would say both too, because if you're someone that the money burns a hole in your
Yes.
pocket, you do probably want to add an additional bank
Additional.
when it comes to your savings. So if you're trying to
Yep.
save for investments or emergency fund, or if
Mhm.
Brian is consulting you on just stashing some money, you probably do want to have an additional option banking relationship with
Yep.
one that is like you're not gonna get the money for 48 hours or something,
Yep.
or
It
the
takes
app
time. Yep.
isn't that convenient, or they're gonna charge you a fee if you get it on
Yes.
this day and not at the end of the month or something. you definitely want to add in something like that. But yeah, I would 100% agree with what Ryan is saying on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So listen, we done spent some overtime because generally the show's only 30 minutes. So we've been in it for 41. I'm super grateful to have you on the show. I want to give someone an opportunity to ask any, well, not someone, but people in general.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one more question that you want to ask Ryan while we are on live, this is your opportunity to drop something in the chat. And while we're waiting for any last questions, make sure you follow Ryan at Killer Brew Consulting on Instagram. And it's right there on the screen, right underneath first. So you want to make sure you do that. If you're interested in joining our Action Takers community, just text the word action to 213-410-4920. And we are on with Ryan Killebrew, learning all types of financial strategies and just more knowledge to make sure that we're right. And I think it's a great day of the week to do it. It's Monday right after the Super Bowl. We probably spend a lot of money getting to the game, watching the game, buying drinks and food, having these parties. So it's time to get our finances in order. But if there aren't any other questions, Ryan, I want to say thank you so much for being on this morning. I think that you're making a real impact. This is information that all entrepreneurs, whether you're starting, have been rolling, or maybe a little bit more seasoned, but still there might be one or two things that aren't in order for them to take advantage of. And what I know your Instagram is there, but what's the best way for them to get in contact with you? If that's the best way for them to get in contact with you.
So Instagram, or you can go directly to my website, which is still just killerbrewconsulting.com, 100%. Those are the two best options to get in contact with me. On the Instagram, you can also go to the bio. The link for the website is there as well. So those, again, are the best options to get in contact with me. Send me a message, fill out the contact form, and we'll definitely be able to connect, so 100% do reach out in one of those two ways. Also, right now, for any of your listeners on today's podcast, if they mention the Imperfect Action Show, I am doing free consultations right now.
Oh man!
For anyone who is,
I have to bring you into the community to do a consultation.
Doing a free consultation. Just to have someone quickly review. If you're trying to develop a plan, if you're looking to work with any professional as well, you're in that mindset. We keep going back to it, but you're in that mindset now where you're ready for growth. You're ready to take action. This is now the time to definitely reach out. Again, this is still the top of the year. We're still in Q1. So, let's make an impact now instead of later. So again, anyone who mentions the Imperfect Action Show will receive a free consultation with me, whether it be for your personal finances or, reviewing for business services as well. 100%. So reach out.
That sounds crazy lit right now. Just have to let you guys know, I would head over to Ryan, right over to our Instagram ASAP so you guys could take advantage of it. And I'm gonna take the website down right now so you can see it. That's at Killer Brew Consulting. DM her, mention the Imperfect Action Show. Take advantage of your free consulting opportunity, and let's get your finances in order, whether on the personal side, the business side, or both. And I have to add, do not be afraid to invest money into your business. You want the revenue to come. You want the income to come in. Yeah. But the same person that want the income come in, all of a sudden you're afraid to invest in getting yourself right. So you're not going to get yourself in a position to bring in more income if you're not right. So, take advantage of the free consulting and listen to what Ryan has available. And if any of them options make sense to you, figure out what works best, make that investment so you can get right as we move into Q2. And it's just really time to level up on all fronts, man. So Ryan, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We'll talk a little bit off camera. You guys, it's been another Imperfect Action Show. Follow Ryan Killebrew. We learned so much today about business structure, registration, money mindset, creating new habits, and you guys get your questions answered. So
Yes.
I'll see you guys on another episode. Make sure you follow Ryan, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.